What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone had a great weekend. I was here last night to cover the fight between John Ryder and Jaime Munguia. Shout out to everyone that was here last night. Shout out to all the new subscribers. Thank you for everyone that donated to the channel yesterday. And let's talk about the fight. First of all, it was a good fight. It was just as good of a fight as Jaime Munguia against Sergey Derenchenko last year. That was a great fight as well. And this was a great fight. To be honest, I've never seen a boring Jaime Munguia fight. I haven't. Regardless of how some of us feel about him, some of us feel that he's been sheltered throughout his career and all of that. But he always gives a good fight. And I think this is the best performance in his career, regardless of where you place John Ryder and stuff. At least in this fight here, I've seen differences. I've been watching him since the Saddam Ali fight, and I can say that there are improvements in his game. All right. So this let me just give you my scorecard leading up until that ninth round stoppage. First round, I gave it to Munguia. Second round, I gave it to Munguia, plus he scored a knockdown. The third round, I gave it to John Ryder. Fourth round, I gave it to Munguia. This is a round that I thought John Ryder was actually edging until the knockdown. So Munguia got the fourth. The fifth round, I gave to Munguia again. The sixth round, this is where I feel like John Ryder started getting a good momentum here. I gave him the sixth round. I gave him the seventh round. I had Munguia winning the eighth, which was a swing round for me, and I'll explain. There was a moment there that Jaime Munguia landed a few, like three, four back-to-back big right hands that had Ryder hurt momentarily on the ropes. Outside of that moment, Ryder had the better round. So I think that is the only questionable round out of the entire fight, which whatever way you went is cool with me. I think the only other close round to me was the third round, but I think the eighth round is like a legit swing round, depending on how you look at that round. And in the ninth round, we got two knockdowns before they end up stopping the fight. All right. Again, Munguia, I said this before the fight. I think there are subtle changes that he should probably make in his game, mostly mostly defensively, and maybe his setups as well. Use more of a jab. Just don't lunge in all the time. And I saw that in specific rounds in this fight. It seemed like as he was doing better, he started to, it's like, and I've seen this before with him. He can box, but it seems like whenever things are working for him, he gets a little too crazy, And I think when he has an opponent in trouble or hurt, he tries to finish him off, but then he starts getting clubbed and timed and countered on his way in. And that's what happened with John Ryder. John Ryder being in the southpaw, he was landing a lot of lead hand hooks while Jaime was on his way in. And I think that was the biggest problem with Jaime Munguia. I mean, Ryder landed a lot of right hands. It's just that Ryder is not that big of a puncher. And this is probably part of the reason why I didn't have him winning by knockout. I know my actual prediction was Jaime Munguia winning on points. I just thought that Ryder was durable enough to go to decision with Jaime Munguia. But I also question the durability, the punch resistance of John Ryder, being that he just came off of a loss to Canelo Alvarez where he took a lot of damage. If you guys saw the Ringside Reporter episode where I joined that panel, I was making a point that not enough people were talking about punch resistance on John Ryder. I know he's been durable throughout his career, but also he just took a beating from Canelo, even though he went to distance. That fight might have taken a little bit out of him, right? But I don't want to take anything away from Jaime Munguia because he boxed well. I love the jab. I love the body shots. I thought he was doing a good job setting up the right hand, and he performed well. I mean, this is the best he's ever looked, in my opinion. And I can't wait to see who exactly he fights, because even though I don't think he will beat the very best at the division, I think he gives anyone a decent fight. I don't necessarily want to see the Canelo fight right now because I want to see the Benavidez fight more. I think that is one of the biggest fights That's like a top 5 fight for me right now in all of boxing is David Benavidez against Canelo Alvarez. But Jaime Munguia, I would definitely like to see him. If not, if he doesn't get Benavidez himself, because I would love to see that fight too, depending on what Canelo. I know everybody's waiting for Canelo. I think everyone is waiting for a Canelo Alvarez fight right now. You know, but as far as Jaime and moving forward from here, Benavidez would be a good fight. Christian Mbili would be a good fight. Caleb Plant would be a good fight. Demetrius Andre would be a good fight. David Morrell would be a good fight. I even went all the way down to like a Vladimir Shishkin or a Bektamir Melikuziev. These are all good fights. I know everybody, even the Edgar Berlanga, I think all the way down to that will all be good. I would say Diego Pacheco, but I don't know if they would match them up this soon. I think that's a fight for down the line. But all the way down to like Bektamir or Edgar Berlanga seems like real good fights for Jaime Munguia. Everybody's waiting Canelo. All right, so whoever gets Canelo gets Canelo. But outside of Canelo, those are all good options for Jaime Munguia. I think the least likely option for everyone, I'm talking Benavidez, I'm talking Canelo, I'm talking Jaime Munguia. I think the least likely is with David Morrell. I think David Morrell right now to me is the most dangerous opponent to go against if, you're just looking to get a Canelo fight. To take on David Morrell before Canelo is unlikely for everyone, including Benavidez, Munguia, Plant, or, whoever. I don't think anybody is going to want to take that fight. I think I look at him kind of like how people look at Boots, Even though Boots don't have the big names yet, it's such a risky fight because what he's capable of doing. He's young. He's a big 147-pounder. He has knockout power. He can box. He can switch. He's explosive. And I look at David Morrell the same way. It's like I want all of these fighters to fight. I would love for Benavidez to fight him right now, but I just feel like David Morrell is going to be avoided, especially because a lot of these fighters are looking at themselves as being one fight away from getting the Canelo fight, and they don't want to ruin that opportunity by losing to David Morrell. I think all of these fighters are more willing to face each other first, And it sucks for Morrell because I want Morrell to get a shot, but in order for Morrell to get a shot, I just think that somebody's going to need to get highly paid in order to get in the ring with him, and this is why Morrell hasn't really gotten in there with any names yet, because no one's going to really want to take that fight. I think they look at that fight as being a dangerous fight. All right. But as far as going back to Jaime Munguia, overall, I think I've seen some improvements here. He did take a lot of hits from John Ryder, but he doesn't, I would say maybe like with one shot he was hurt. Like 1 or 2 shots, I wouldn't say hurt, but I would say that a couple of his shots that landed backed them up, like he respected. Plus, there were periods where Jaime, I think, might have punched himself out a little bit. Whenever he rallied and landed a good shot and rallied against John Ryder and didn't get the stoppage, the couple of times that happened prior to the stoppage, it seemed like he would back off and move around the ring maybe for like half a round. Maybe because he probably punched himself out a little bit, or maybe he caught a good shot. But overall, I like what I've seen from him. I think he fought a little smarter than normal. And plus, he still gave us that fun action that we normally get from him. So, and I think overall, Jaime can't completely change his game. I think he can just work on certain things. But I wouldn't want him to try to be someone that he's not. Again, he's an action fighter. He's a volume puncher. You know what I mean? He's a guy that exchanges and stuff. That's the kind of fighter he is. And I think John Ryder, the timing for this fight, this was a test for him, and the timing was perfect because John Ryder is coming off of a Canelo loss, and everybody's going to want to see, how they can do against a common opponent, especially a guy that did better towards the end, the later rounds of the Canelo fight. He did better in those rounds. And it seemed like for a moment, after watching the 6th and 7th round and the 8th even too, it seemed like John Ryder seemed like as if, he was going to finish out the fight and take it to a decision. because he was taking a lot of the punches better from Jaime in those rounds. Plus, he was landing and scoring more consistently. And it seemed like it was going to go in a similar fashion like the Canelo fight, like getting hurt early in the second and fourth rounds, getting knocked down, and then finishing the fight strong like he did at Canelo. You know, Canelo knocked him down in the fifth round. But even before the fifth round, Canelo had already bloodied his nose. Like, he put a lot of damage on his face. I do believe that John Ryder has lost some of that punch resistance, especially because of this fight now as well. He was marked up as early as the first round. You know, the first round just told me like, oh man, I don't, even by the end of the first round, I was already questioning whether he's going to go the distance, because Jaime was punching so hard and he was so accurate in that first round and even in the second. And I was like, man, I didn't even think he was going to last the amount of time he did. He went 9 rounds, you know, with 4 knockdowns. So a very good performance from Jaime Munguia. Again, it's all about the waiting game. You know, I personally don't think it's going to be Canelo, because if Canelo is still involved with the PBC in this 3-fight deal, I'm expecting Canelo to fight Jamal Charlo, simply because, you know, Jamal is that one PBC fighter that Canelo has not faced yet. You know, we already seen him beat Caleb Plant already. You know, we know he beat Jamel Charlo, had Jamel Charlo move up. You know, unless the PBC is able to get somebody else to move up, you know, or move down for Canelo. I don't know, but I'm expecting it to be Jamal Charlo. I don't want it to be Jamal Charlo, you know, and I don't think it would do well fighting the twin brother of the fighter you just faced. I think that's going to hurt the pay-per-view numbers, but they might just do it because it's one of their fighters. You know, again, all these fighters I just named, you know, outside of David Benavidez, I think David would be the fight. Would be the fight, but they might be making another fight, another option leading up to David Benavidez, and they might save David for last. And if you look at all the other names, Munguia, M. Billy, you know, he already beat Caleb Plant. You know, Andre just lost. So, you know, and then you got David Morrell, who's a PBC fighter, but might be a little bit too dangerous. You know, if they're going to put him in there with Morrell, they might as well put him in there with PBC, the David Benavidez. So, I think the only realistic fight here right now is Jamal Charlo. But if they are willing to go outside of the PBC for now, I'm expecting Jaime Munguia to be that guy. You know, it'll be another Mexican fighter. It'd be from the looks of the crowd, it looked like it was a packed arena out there in Arizona, I believe. It looked like he can sell. You know, the Mexican community is really supporting him at this point. And they might make that fight for a Mexican holiday in May, and then another with Benavidez in September. So we just gotta wait and see. All right. So anyway, again, very, very good fight. Shout out to everyone that was here last night. You know, we'll talk more about this, I'm sure, throughout the week. But good fight, man. I have nothing else to really bad to say about Jaime. You know, but again, if it's not Canelo, I'm expecting, like, if it's not Canelo, I'm expecting Edgar Berlanga. I'm expecting Edgar Berlanga, you know, or maybe even a Christian Mbili. I'm expecting something like that. I'm not expecting David. I'm not expecting Dave Morrell. Like, I'm not expecting those kind of fights. Maybe a Caleb Plant. Maybe if they could pull Caleb Plant, because people are going to want to fight Caleb because he's been in there with Canelo and he's been in there with David Benavidez. That's a guy that people are going to want to see fight, you know. Anyway, I'm out of here. Y'all have a good one. Peace.